There's two streams on YouTube. There's two icons on my feed on YouTube for the stream.
There's two streams.
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Two
it's
streams
terrible.
assigned. Maybe it's last week, and Drone 3 Droids saying he got a reminder 9 hours late. Oh, I wonder. Oh well, maybe people will be here. Maybe they won't.
Well,
there's one person. Hello,
Are we taking after Ian tonight?
What, taking after Ian because he's
Yeah,
out doing a bank job?
Well, he's out.
No,
he's out late.
He's called from the car. It's night's work. You know, most of his work's nights, and he gets in early, especially for us. Two people here. I wonder which streamer's actually working. Oh well. Hooray! Thank you, StreamYard. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you. Were you watching me somewhere else there? No. I will wait. I am getting very bored by these goggles, but I'll explain when Ian's here just how bored I am about these goggles. But there's not one, not two.
What goggles?
What goggles?
Exactly. Are there some goggles? Have you got goggles?
Apparently, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
But there's three announcements of anti-drone stuff with lasers this week, which is quite amazing. That's a big week for.
How do they keep the sharks wet?
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. So Ukraine is filtering through to the world of counter UAS. They're trying to sell everyone everything. It's been a big counter UAS one this week. And did you guys happen to see the video of the purported going out to convert a manned aircraft to delivery drone in a day to fly stuff into that steel plant?
No, did they put Elon Musk, one of Elon Musk's robots, in the pilot seat or something?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, it was a flipping cable, cable-driven flying surfaces. I'm not sure how we're converting that in a day, but there we are.
Oh, of course, the servo wouldn't be strong enough, would it?
I don't think so. How would you? How would you do
pretty
it?
Strong servos. You get those industrial servos, Seco ones or Seco, whatever you call them. Some of those are like 2,000 inch pounds of torque or something.
Well,
I mean, it won't take long to tune it, will it? You know, sort it all out.
Just launch it and hit auto tune.
Exactly, quick auto tune. Yeah.
What's auto tune? My past week has been no auto tune. Please explain.
It's when singers can't hit notes properly, and so there's a computer automatically shifts them to the nearest note.
Yeah.
Are you not up with the pop music scene?
No, I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, we've been. Yeah. Anyway, there's another story there, but I won't go into another story. Yeah. So lots and lots of counter UAS stuff this week hitting the wires, and a little bit of drone delivery stuff. Wingcopter got. Not permission to fly. They got a what's this? I thought there were two reminders. YouTube would send one now. No, I don't get any reminders for iForce 2D's channel at all.
Have you made sure you've clicked all notifications on the bell?
I don't.
The little bell's got multiple modes. You've got to check, because some people just click the bell and think, "Oh, I'll be notified," but it doesn't default to all notifications. You've got to select.
I'm one of those some people. That's me.
Yeah, well, there you
I'm
go.
one of those some people.
Yes.
Oh. Well, that's
operator error.
System, then. Yeah,
I trust YouTube implicitly. There's in New Zealand here, they're advertising those scammy drones again. You know, the little e-sheen ones with their tiny little folding up drones. They've been advertising those. This is an $8,000 drone, and the military had it, and it's been going to be banned.
Exactly here as well. They're coming into South Africa.
I've got a video coming on that. So I went, and it says when you have the little eye symbol down there, it says report this ad. So I'll report the ad as it's a scam. You click on it, takes you to a web page which says select which type of report you want to make. You select it, but there's no submit button. So you can't actually report the ad. YouTube wants to go, no, we've heard no complaints about this ad. It's terrible.
So what's that? Oh, I've got to ring the bell and smash that like button. Have you? I don't know. It's like flying out of goals, you know.
Well, that's where I've gone wrong. I've been smashing the bell and ringing the like button.
Exactly. Did that advert start popping up yesterday?
Yeah. And in fact, I've done a bit of research already. And if you notice, it says, it always talks about your country. And if you go to the website, you click on it, go to the website, it says reviews from so-and-so in this case, it was in Auckland. But if you go to the generic site without all the appendages, that guy's from Fort Lauderdale in Florida, or wherever it is, Texas, something. So it's just a complete and utter load of lies. It's got a It's got a gyro. It's got a gyro on the camera.
Oh, is it? And have you got 3 different types of that advert?
Yeah. There's multiple. One's got a flamethrower, and one's got this will be banned, and yeah.
Yes,
so I'm just going to do another expose. Why is Google accepting these scammy ads, and the report function doesn't work? So you can't even tell them they're scammy ads. Why suggest that you can report this ad if you don't actually have a submit button on the form?
Yeah, it's relentless. It's every single video I put up.
So putting drone video, obviously they're paying money for that. So if you got a drone video on YouTube, you're probably making quite a bit of money if people are watching it. I always let it run to at least 35 seconds and then click on it so that they're paying the maximum amount of money, but they're not selling anything to me.
Yeah, is it running in England at the moment?
To be honest, I've not seen YouTube for the past week and a bit, because
Are you actually going to tell us what you've been flying for the last week and a bit?
No,
you're still not allowed to say you're flying an airship.
I still can't say any more.
You still can't say you're flying a Cadillac for the Brian Adams concert.
No, I can't say anything.
You can't say that you were at the O2 earlier.
And we wouldn't even speculate on that, because speculation is not a thing.
No, speculation is not at all part of YouTube. No.
As soon as O2 is not till another week away.
Oh, was it the Royal Albert Hall then? Blink twice for yes.
I may have to leave the stream momentarily, because I got a new light fitting put in my bathroom about 6 months ago, and this morning when I was having a shower, it turned into a disco thing. It was flashing and going off and on, and then I had to finish my shower at 4 a.m. in the dark. Very exciting. So the electrician may be coming. I might have to duck away and just show him where the bathroom is, but I'll be back. Don't worry.
At 4 in the morning.
We're waiting for Ian. Ian's getting out of his car. That's because he was up making controversial videos about these Fatshark goggles that
it's because I can't sleep.
Doesn't want us to talk about. I don't really want to talk about him, Ian. But we go wait for Ian. He's getting out of his car. He's driven back from somewhere, and he'll have something. He'll have something to say about this.
You see his latest review on the Zorro transmitter.
I did.
Affiliate link in the description. Affiliate link in the description.
Yeah. Or Peppermint Pilot, or every product cycle skipped. I won't start in about those. What else can we talk about before he goes? Because we can't talk about flying blimps indoors at a Brian Adams concert in London, in the UK at the moment. No,
can't talk about it. So,
one thing that I found interesting. While I remember, here in New Zealand, some crowds just ordered $1 million worth of ground effect craft. The Russian chronoplane thing, those ground effect things. There's a company in America is making or planning to make them, and they're talking about electric ones, and they'll cross the gap between New Zealand and Australia in the same time as an airliner. It's just a whole lot of rubbish. Yet they're taking pre-orders, and they haven't even built a prototype yet, as far as I'm aware. It's like, what is going on?
Not the ones that nice chaps made the prototypes for, though. Goes to Discord.
I don't know.
Has the world become a place where now you just say you can do something, you make a little video presentation, and you just take people's money?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Oh yeah. We know anyone that's invested in that recently? Oh, look out! Here he comes.
It's over now. We've finished talking about the goggles. What else have you got?
Yeah.
We've discussed the goggles. There's no chair shot. Where's the chair shot?
He's in his house or the hotel. You in a house or hotel?
Look, it's Mr. Frozen. Oh,
can you get? Is it playing up?
We can almost see you through the noise.
I know. I'm looking at that thinking, wow.
Are you in a Premiere?
It just shows you how good the camera is on this laptop, isn't it? Huh?
Is that dial-up Wi-Fi you're using?
Oh, is it? Give me 2 seconds. Let me hop back. 2 seconds.
Oh no, he's going to fiddle around. What have you done?
That worked. We got rid of him pretty quickly, didn't we?
So, I did see that Royal Mail are going to do deliveries in the UK, or plan to.
Wait, you mean the drones ramp up with vaporware? It is amazing.
That's just a rumor. That's just a rumor. We can't confirm that. No, if you can send us a 3D rendering of that, Dan, we might be able to do more.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Did I see Did I see the FAA wants to come up with a way to do drone flight management or something?
No, that's ICAO. It's ICAO.
Sorry, ICAO. So why are they doing it? Why is everyone doing it the hard way? I do not understand this. Why don't they just set the standard on a transponder? Then it's down to the operator to keep a distance from another transponder. It's that simple. It's stupid. It really is.
In my traditional I'm never prepared way, I'd have shown you an image of ADSB blowing up in America this week. Not quite blowing up, but the centralized official towers squared off a load of the tracks. They just ended up as a great big square on the official feed. So ADSB is unfortunately is just a non-starter as a processed spoofable thing.
But ICO needs to set the standard. So ICO needs to go, right, every aircraft or UAV or whatever's flying out there, they need to have a transponder on them. If you're doing commercial BV loss, for example, and you're manned aviation, and if you're flying, you know, you the operator are responsible to keep a distance from another operator. So they've got a beacon, you've both got transponders. It's dead simple. All you have to do is make sure you never get this close to each other. It just keeps the separation. It should be that simple.
So it's like COVID for drones, then.
Yes. And but that works when you put a mask on it. You got to put a mask on it.
So now the drones have to wear masks. Is that it?
Yeah. Well, it must be if you're going for COVID distancing. And not enough ADSB channels to support drones. But that's exactly right, Dan. That is exactly right. There's not enough codes in the world.
Yeah, there's not enough codes. So they need to come up with a new system, right? I'm not saying use what's already exists, because we already know that tech is just shite anyway. Excuse my French. So come up with a new transponder system that covers manned aviation and UAVs, anything that's in the air, basically. You know, is flying BV loss commercially. There's no point in giving it to guys like me or Ian or Bruce or doing local stuff or model flyers. We don't need all that crap on our machines. We use visual line of sight. These things that are flying from cities to cities doing deliveries or whatever, they need it. We don't. We might need a device that will, like the DJI app or something, could receive the signal, but actually, and say where they are, but we don't need to transmit our machines into the sky, because let's face it, if you're flying sub 25 kilos, you know, and you're a model flying club or you're working doing industrial inspection, you're typically, you know, you're literally 30 meters, 20 meters from the building you're inspecting anyway, or closer. You could be 10 meters from it. What's the point in telling the world where you are? Absolutely no reason.
It's like TikTok. What's the point in TikTok? There's absolutely no reason.
Clocks don't work without it. If you don't put the TikTok in, the clock don't tell the time. It's all rather assuming that the world's going to go large with large delivery drones or AAM. And remember, the FAA have just pushed back the certification means probably by 10 years at least. So it's sort of nonsense.
But if the problem is we've got to think 10 years ahead, right? We can't think. So 5 years ahead.
Think 100 years ahead.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
I mean, the bloody ADSB is 30 years old.
Yeah, it needs to be placed. So let's say that then. Let's go right. We're going to do what the Chinese do. We're going to think 100 years ahead for managed airspace. You know, come up with a system that you will introduce in 2040, 2030. It'll start being introduced, and the plan is to improve on that particular part of the hardware system, and just build on it and build on it and build on it gently. And you get there for your 100. That's your 100-year target. And if you can get there and it all works, brilliant. Problem is, it's like every government thinks of their term. They think of 4 years ahead or 5 years. They can't think any further than that. So all governments, as soon as a new one gets in, goes, well, that's a crap idea. We need to change that.
Right. There's one way to get this through. Just tell the governments that ADSB is too energy hungry. It's using too much power. We need something that uses less power. And all the environmentalists will wade in, and overnight we'll have a whole new thing that's completely different, because I think the environmentalists move much more quickly than the airspace regulators.
I mean, if you imagine, you will only ever need something. I mean, technology today, all you will ever need is a little transponder the size of this that just kicks out an RF signal saying, I am I don't know, if you need to know a Cessna or an airliner or whatever, or a UAV, it just says, I am here, this is my position, and this is my track as I go. And that's it. It doesn't need to say where it came from. It doesn't even need to say where it's going to, because they seem to have that fixed in their stupid minds for some reason. All you've got to know is that this is here, right? And it's going that way. So anyone else flying that comes along will go, there's one here at this height, and and I'm at this height, right? I will go above it, I'll go below it. Just apply the same basic rules for manned aviation. What is it? If you see another aircraft, what do? You both
turn right. It depends where you are. If you head on, you turn right. Depends
land
where you are.
safely.
Yeah. So you both take avoiding action.
You call the tower and say you've seen a drone. That's what you do.
Or a UFO.
Or a UFO. Yeah. That's exactly.
Or you just try and land on a bridge.
Do you have to
that was terrible. Yeah, that was terrible. It looked like a plastic bag, but I'm sure it was a drone. Right, now we've got Ian in, and Archangel RC's here, which is fantastic. Very good to see you, mate. We're going to mention these goggles before we do mention the bus. I saw that as well. I've had enough of these goggles now. So my question is, has this done them any good?
There's no such thing as bad publicity. Number one.
Oh, you haven't seen my publicity.
Well, that's apart from Bruce reviewing a product of yours. Other than that, there's no such thing as bad publicity. I've had a lot of time to reflect today and sort of start, what is this about? So if we break it down, we have a new set of goggles, and we need to make sure we don't lose sight of what we have. We have something which looks fairly decent. It's not going to cater for everyone. It doesn't have an analog input of any form, which I think is a mistake, but that is what it is. Even as badly implemented as DJI's analog input is, it's there and people use it. I think there is a lot good about the goggle. It's nice to see Fatshark doing something different. If we then talk about the system, that's something different, because you've got to separate the two. The goggle and the system are two different things. It clearly looks a lot like DJI. By intention, it looks like that's the case. They've intentionally done that. I have my personal thoughts on, it's not DJI, it's not their ASIC, but it's probably very, very similar. Very, 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 very similar. We'll find out how similar when it comes out. I think in many ways, though, if they can get it right, it's a good thing. All of the criticism of DJI has been they don't listen to the community. So outside of the noise and the way it's been handled, and I think that's the biggest mistake in all of this, is the way it's been handled, not what it is. If they deliver what they've promised, then this could be a very, very good thing overall. But there are lots of big buts. What was shown was very alpha. I think even alpha is a bit of a stretch for it at times. I'd call it still in development rather than alpha testing. And they're launching in 6 weeks. And I think their mistakes are not the product. Their mistakes are the answers they've given and what they've said in this. That's where I think the mistakes
are. So you're ever going to trust it then?
I need to see more. I don't like the full price pre-order at all. If I'm going to criticize them for anything, it's asking people to pony up $700 for a product that looks half finished, and you're saying you're going to deliver in 6 weeks. Ask me for $100, I'm happy. Ask me to put down a substantial amount to not just be a quid on a table to say I'll buy it. Ask me for $150, I'd be happy. $700 down today, it's a lot of money.
That is the problem, because we're talking about a big company in theory, Red Cat. They should have lots of money. If it was a little startup, you could understand effectively crowdfunding it. But when a large company decides to crowdfund it, it gets a little bit worrying as to why do you need to do that? Why can't you invest your own money in this?
And this is the problem. Sorry, Gary, I was just going to say, and this is the problem. Where's that money now going? Okay, so 6 weeks. I give Get FPV my $700. Is that sitting with Get FPV, or is that actually in that 6 weeks going back to Red Cat Fatshark? And I got no issues with that. But if I then in that period say, you know what, I'm not happy, I'm going to pull out, how much of a hoop is there? If you'd have taken $100 or $150, right? You have got all the serious people at that point. You've got the people who are not just going. No one's going to put $100 down to just to pull out later. So that they are serious. So I'd have been more than comfortable with 100, maybe a bit more, but the kit $780. It's like $800 for the full kit for a product we haven't seen working. And if I'm going to criticize them, it's for that more than the launch was. I actually feel for them. I think they've been slightly done over here. Actually, I'm not convinced the whole walk snail thing was meant to happen. I think that's someone in China getting a little bit ahead of themselves is the term I'll use, and trying to go, oh, we'll push a side little order out. I think that's going to happen, but I don't think that was meant to happen yet.
Well, hang on. So let's review a little bit of this. So they're wanting a chunk of money up front. It's Red Cat, which is Teal, which is a blue CUAS supplier, and they allegedly have sold bucket loads of them. So there should be plenty of cash washing about in there. But the potential connection because they can't inoculate themselves from the connection with the Chinese, because people are making the mistake. They're saying, well, it's only DJI that's the trouble. It's not only DJI. No, technically, you can't use an iPad with an American Blue CUAS platform now because they're made in China. So they're taking a heck of a risk. So what does that say? Does that say that Teal's in trouble? Does it say the big money's in goggles? Does it say, what does all this say?
The only reason you would want the full money up front is if you're trying to push the cost of manufacture through. You haven't got the money to do it. That's the only logic up front, is you either need to prove a market. So you want enough on the table to say, look, we can prove there are people here who want this. But $100 would have done that.
100 would have done that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. 100 would have done that. So 100 would have done that. So the only other good reason to take full price up front is if you need the money for the manufacturing. I'm not being funny. That's the logic. And I find it hard. And yeah, look, the whole DJI thing got weird on this because, we all got added A, B to C. And you've got to love the FPV community, right? Within an hour, they had already worked out where the websites were owned. And I was involved in this, as with many others. We are literally a nightmare. For any manufacturer, we must be a nightmare. Because once you smell a bit of meat, and once you smell a sniff or something, you start digging up all sorts of stuff. We have Fatshark, walk snail. I keep nearly saying run snail. Run snail's next year. This year is walk snail.
Fat snail would have been better, wouldn't
it? But walk snail, who is Cadix FPV? Yeah, fat snail. Someone's called it fat snail. I like that one.
Oh,
yeah, that's been around. But yeah, they are Cadix FPV. They are basically Cadix FPV, who were DJI's partner. Now, do I think there's a very real possibility here Cadix have seen the end of the road for the current system and thought, you know what, we're going to try something ourselves? I think it will bear out. It will look a lot like what DJI have done. Is that a bad thing? No. What do they say? Copying is the greatest form of flattery, isn't it? Or,
imitation.
So, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So, DJI has had a 2 or 3 year head start. Did we think someone wouldn't come up with something? It's unrealistic to think they wouldn't. How similar it is, I don't know. The menus make it look identical, but then again, we know that happens in China. So, Bruce, what's your thoughts on this whole thing? Because I've talked about this a hell of a lot over the last 3 days. So
yeah, well, I've sort of made videos talking about what I think, and it is. I can't understand why, if you're going to produce a new product, you would make it look so much like a competitor's product. You want points of distinction. You don't want to say, look, we're as good as them, because then you can only take a share of the market. If you say we've got a superior product that's totally different, has these new innovative features, then you can create a new chunk of market that may not have existed before. And I think it's kind of, maybe they designed the whole release to get people talking, because, as you say, no such thing as bad publicity. But I think there's been a lot of pushback and a lot of kickback. They haven't won the hearts of the community. Too many people are going, what's going on here? Because there's, especially when you bring Rotor Riot into it, because they were DJI dealers, they were shark bite dealers. Now they're going to be dealers for this thing. I mean, they don't seem to have many. They'll sell anything that comes along. But the worrying thing for me is this whole money thing. Because what's that? They've decided to see how many people will buy into this before they actually manufacture it. And so we have maybe 500 people put down $700, and they say, well, we wanted 1,000, so we're not going to make it. Those 500 people have to get their money back somehow. And, I just can't believe that a company with the resources of Red Cat, although they've spread themselves pretty thin recently, buying a lot of stuff, I can't believe that they would need that money to do anything. So I just don't know where it goes. What I said in my RC Model Reviews video was, maybe some companies come up, designed this ASIC, and they've gone out flogging it to anyone that'll buy it. So that's why we've got Walksnail, that's why we've got whoever else is involved here. And we may see a whole new family of digital FPV gear coming out of a number of manufacturers, all based on this ASIC, in which case the one that the Fatshark one will just be one of many. We may find SkyZone comes out with a version, and maybe FreeSky, maybe, who knows? It's so early days that I would say sit quietly, fly what you got, and let's review the situation in 3 months when they've finally started shipping, because I think 6 weeks is very optimistic. Maybe even 6 months. We'll see what happens.
I got halfway through your video, Bruce, but I didn't get to the end. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, most people are like that.
No, it's been a busy thing. I think Bruce is bang on. I genuinely think someone has cloned the ASIC, and that I don't mean stolen DJI's technology. And so have
they actually cloned it? Does DJI use H.264 or H.265?
264. So
yeah, because this is using H.265. They're claiming it uses H.265.
It does remind me, though, Bruce, of all of the typical Chinese copies of things. Is they make it identical and then add some newer stuff that never worked properly. That's which is 1080p and H.265. We've all seen it. I would bet someone has replicated what DJI have done. I don't mean copied a clone, but created something that has the same functionality, and they've put it out there on the OEM market, as Bruce has said, and a number of companies have picked it up. We always talk about DJI, but the funny thing to understand with DJI, we know so much more about this ASIC now than we've ever known. We say DJI technology, but the reality is DJI are buying that in anyway. They're buying all of the chipsets they use. Yes, the P1 is a custom chipset, but it's just a custom version of an off-the-shelf ASIC that they were using before. Well, it wasn't an ASIC, an SoC. The OcuSync is not magical. People look at it and go, oh, it's the best, no one could copy that. Well, why? If enough money, time, and resources goes in, anything is possible. Now, everyone has had 2+ years to look at this. So the reality is, are we actually that surprised that someone's come along and gone, we've made something basically the same? How close? Who knows? Is it DJI's code? Who knows? We don't. I wouldn't be shocked if it is literally bits of a number of things. And in the end, the problem with that, though, is will it work properly? And that's where these things have always fallen over. You've seen copy Pixhawks. We've seen copy versions of Ardra And the number one trait with all of these replicated systems is they often fall over and not get to the same quality as what the original did. And this is Fatshark's problem. This is where I'm concerned. They've bet the bank on someone else's work again, from the looks of it. And if in 6 weeks this isn't as ready as they hope, it ain't Walksnail's name on the line here. It ain't Cadex's name on the line. It's Fatshark's, because they've taken $700 from everyone. If they'd have just put a pre-order down and gone, we aim to go 6 weeks, but we're going to come back to you in 4 and tell you where we're at, and we'll go from there. It feels like they've put a lot on the line for no good reason here. No good reason. What's the rush with this?
Yeah, interesting, because remember with Fatshark, there was the beta program and things, and then so Fatshark does have a history of starting things and then dropping them from time to time. Could this be another one? But what I'd really love to see is if this is an independently produced ASIC, when the open source version comes out of all the firmware around it, that's when you put your money down. That's when you get involved. That's when the whole market will change.
Yeah, and look, I hope they're under no illusion. They will be astonished what we know, and I mean we, the FPV community, the guys who dig into this stuff. I'm lucky that a lot of people talk to me, and I get fed information from many angles, and people will be astonished how fast we will know if they have copied. We will know the second this lands in someone's hands. There will be people pouring all over the firmware. If there is anything that's been done here, it's going to come out. That's just a reality. You know, the FPV community has gone in a few years from just being a hobby community. There are some seriously talented people around drones and FPV now. Kevin Flincher, I can never say his name properly. Kev's just one of many people who will literally more than happily stick it to a company to make it known that they're not doing something they say they're doing, you know.
Yeah. They'll be found out quick. I mean, is this Fatshark's last set of goggles, I wonder?
I hope it isn't. I hope it isn't. I genuinely think the product's interesting. I think they've made some mistakes on the design. And on the flip side of that, HD0 have released, and ignore how they look, because I'll give you a little hint, they may be changing a little bit after the community feedback. However, if we look at what Carl has done, there is, I don't know if there's anything more he could have done. Bruce,
does it have a DVR does the HD0 goggles have a DVR?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Full DVR. Full DVR, OLED displays, 90 hertz, HDMI in and out, analog input. Okay, it's not a bay, but you can put a module on with the cable, and it's got full deinterlacing. He took my complaints from the Escizons and stuff, and because that's what Carl did for a living, he just went, yeah, I can fix that. There's something actually very interesting. For those who haven't seen my review, Carl from HD0, he actually designed the driver chip that's being used in pretty much all of the OLED goggles when he was at the last company he worked for. So that's how long, and it's that he didn't realize it was being used in FPV. It wasn't designed for FPV. It's a display driver for other uses. But that's Carl's background is that. And no, I can't think of another feature. These could possibly be the very best looking goggles on the market for analog and digital for image quality. You know, and
my concern though is that this is a very old ASIC now. That HD0 ASIC's been out for a very long time, and if this other ASIC is just a recent development, we can see where things are heading. I think Carl has to work very hard to keep up, because he will be a lot of people will look at if this other thing is a new system, they'll look, you've got DJI with fantastic video and whatever, you've got the new one with very much the same performance, and you've got HD0, which has a niche with races and things because of the fixed latency, but in virtually every other area it's outshone by the more sophisticated system. So Carl will really need to keep his pressure on to produce a better system.
The sort of thing Ben was saying about more systems. But what I'll say is, Ben, it's not non-DJI, it's non-Chinese if you're going down that line.
But the problem is it's so expensive to develop a system from scratch for digital. And when you look at it, there's not actually all the analog FPV systems use the same basic module. So it's not like there's new stuff coming out analog all the time. It's the same basic core with different wrappers around it.
And actually, it wouldn't be a bad thing if this, whatever they're using, we'll call it the walk snail system because it's not the Fatshark system, but the walk snail system became a widely spread digital platform that worked properly. Okay, it needs to work properly, but any manufacturer could go and buy, because the complaint everyone has with digital is that it's all different. And look, if they can tweak it, improve it, and make it a bit better, this could be very, very good. And I don't, HD0 has its place, and Carl's already working on the second ASIC, the second revision. He knows what he wants. He's already got it in mind. But this isn't bad. I think the biggest mistake here with the whole Fatshark thing is how they've dealt with it. You know, I did rip Drew apart, and I wish Drew no malice. You know, I felt bad for doing it, but I had no choice in my eyes because
I think you should start wearing eyeliner to show support for Drew. Come on, get behind. If you really mean what you say, I want to see the guy liner.
Did you see the comment I made on his video? I don't know if you did. He put a bit of a live out, and frankly, it was a mistake. He was very confrontational in it, and it was just, you don't need to know. We'll tell you when we're ready, and you're not in the circle of trust. And it just felt patronizing. Basically,
it says, can we be a circle of trust? What can we be? A circle of BS?
But if you're going to come on there as the company, you know, I'm not going to criticize him as a person, but I'm going to criticize as a CEO of a company, which he is, or whatever position he is, a Road Riot, and come on and say, I want $700 from you, but I ain't telling you anything. You don't need to know. All you need to know is we have made this system, and you're lucky that we're letting you buy this. So go away.
I agreed in my video. In my video, I agreed with what Drew said. You don't need to know, but you don't want to pre-order. Just wait till you can actually kick it and touch it and feel it. Then you can make a decision.
Yeah, they don't have to tell us, but then don't expect us to give you our money. And that's the very simple answer. But also, don't come on and say you don't need to know. You know, it could have been really simple, and it could have just been, you know what, we know you got questions, we know you want to know, but look, trust us, we can't tell you this. Hang back. If you're not sure, wait. I'm sure you're going to love this. And you just keep it simple and thing. But I guess they've had a bit of a frustrating weekend. And I do feel bad for pulling him apart a bit on it because, you know, you never want to cause beef with someone. It's never my intention, but I did get a bit riled up on that one, I'll be honest.
So how come Flywheel can do a pre-order for $1?
Well, that raises some questions. And I'm not convinced they've even know what they're doing. I'm not convinced they haven't taken screenshots off a website and listed it on theirs. I'm not convinced even that's legit.
Imagine 1 million pre-orders. They can retire to the Bahamas without shipping a thing.
I don't know. Something smells off about the Flywheel one. Something smells off about the Flywheel one.
Well, all of it's nonsense, and I wouldn't try. As he says, Bruce Weisty says, just wait 6 months to see what happens. Yeah. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And we won't have spent any money. But if they're needing all our money to start production, then it ain't coming.
I just hope that whoever's designed the ASIC doesn't do that horrible thing that a lot of those companies do and say, you only get the information under an NDA. You can't tell anybody how to interface with it or anything. Because if they did open it up, it would make a new standard in the digital FPV market. 101 manufacturers start making gear that was all compatible, so you could buy this goggles and those your air unit from there and whatever, and your cameras from here, and it would all work. We'd be back to the strengths of analog, but with digital. And the prices would drop significantly, and the manufacturers wouldn't have to worry about firmware, wouldn't have to worry about the most expensive part, developing the software, just churn it, like with the LRS. They just make the hardware, flick it out the door, and let the community take care of all the really hard and expensive bits, like maintaining the firmware.
It is interesting. It is interesting, you know, and it's potentially massive.
So, right, that's that then.
The reality is the DJ style system. Yeah.
Go on, mate. No, go on.
No, I was just going to say the DJI style system is good enough for 90% of pilots. That's why I was, you know, there are 10% that will want more, but that system is good enough for 90%. It's that simple.
So, hitting a school bus with your whatever it's called, Mini 3 small thing, 250 gram, whatever.
How many people died?
No people died, but would you be foolish enough to put that video up?
Only if I was an auditor.
Only if you were an auditor.
Sorry, they hit a bus.
Yeah, with that new little thing.
Are you sure the bus didn't drive into the drone?
Wow.
That's more likely what happened.
I feel like I need to see this. What?
I can't believe this happened. We've got registration, we've got flyer IDs, we've got a remote ID coming up. Why? How could this possibly happen in this world of regulation and control?
Yes. How can you hit a bus? How's that possible?
Bus.
He had the tracking thing going. It was on a bicycle. He had the tracking thing going. So he was BV loss because he wasn't looking at the aircraft. And he was riding through a housing estate. And the school bus come the other way and hit it. So
this is like the guy with the Skydio and where was it, Vietnam or Mexico or something, he was riding on his bike and the Skydio disappeared into a shopping centre.
That sort of a thing, I guess. That sort of a thing. Obviously operating well outside of the limits of the machine, but because it must have been using all its processing power to follow him on the bike. But how foolish he was to post it. So say his BB lost because he wasn't looking at it. And
but how many likes did he get? That's the bottom line. How many likes? It was worth it.
I suppose. Yeah, I suppose that is the
Probably
thing.
a lot.
He's one of those people that should never be allowed a drone, isn't he? I've just watched it, right? It's only a short clip, right? I mean, how stupid do you have to be?
He wasn't really flying the drone, but that's something of a common theme amongst self-controlled things of late. I don't know if you guys seen that clip of a Tesla going through the streets on autopilot, and all of a sudden it swerves towards a bicyclist.
Yes.
And the guy at the steering wheel just intervened immediately to keep it straight. But that would have been
If it was
fun.
Jeremy Clarkson, he wouldn't have intervened.
It's like it was trying to hit the cyclist.
Yes, yes, I did see that one.
That was hilarious.
So, automated systems like this, and the worst thing is in the manuals. I mean, in the Tesla manual, it says, these things can go wrong. It tells you, but all of a sudden,
it's the AI rising against us.
Against the bicycles, yes, one at a time.
Little by little, they're coming out to kill us.
Nibble.
Well, all you need is someone that programs the AI, and you just go, right, for a cyclist, you get 50 points. For a school bus, if you hit it, you get 100 points. No wonder it didn't take avoiding action. The AI wanted the points. Why do people blindly trust automated systems?
I trust YouTube's AI to detect all the copyright infringements and the bad words.
What? So you trust to take money for adverts, then, Bruce? They then show you
absolutely.
But then you
that's why. That's why if I'm not getting ads for that crappy drone, I get Barbie ads, Barbie doll ads, and Mattel and for one of my drone videos. What's going on there?
So what I don't understand though, Bruce, is right, because let's face it, right, my arms are rubbish, right? There's no muscle there at all, right? Because I don't work out. I would have thought gym gear would have been the thing for your channel. That's what I expect when I watch your channel. I'm looking for the gym gear because I've seen the videos of your arms, mate. I'm surprised some gym company is not sponsoring your channel massively, to be honest.
Well, you see, you can't advertise guns on YouTube.
Yeah, you go. Okay, so if you mute yourself, mate, because there's a lot of feedback coming through you.
Oh, sorry.
No, Mr. Arcs Angel. Thank you, mate. Yeah.
What? Feedback's coming through my microphone? Impossible.
Yeah, well, I think
we could have solved that a while ago.
Yeah, I think we are getting to see. Look, someone else noticed. Yeah, no, it was just a nonsense incident. I see someone mentioned in the comments. I did want to mention it as well. But putting that video out, I can see at least 2 reasons to get yourself into trouble with the FAA there, and they are looking. And only so many likes is worth getting a collar felt.
What about Australians? Any FPV video's got to get them into trouble, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it is. As you've said in was it this morning's video, you mentioned the changes to...
Well, it's not actually a change. It's always been like that, but they're just pointing it out, reminding people. And the interesting thing is they say the FPV consists of wearing goggles or just using a smartphone on your transmitter. So if you're flying a Phantom and you momentarily glance down at your phone, you've broken the regulations. It's like, how crazy are these people?
Yeah, the UK is trying to bring that into the definition as well, or try. I don't know if they managed to, but they tried to bring using a handheld device into the FPV because you're heads down. People are heads down. I watched a guy just today, heads down, and yet again, a different guy came to school with a Mavic this time. Our marketing department got them in. And again, I saw some absolutely horrendous flying to get the shots.
So here's the thing. Here's the UK basic rule on it. And this has always been the way. It's never changed. It's just people don't understand the rule, okay? Because people don't pay attention to anything. The UK has always said, if you fly by a screen, by looking down, like this is FPV. If you wear goggles, it's FPV. There is no distinction. What basically they say is, if you're flying and you glance down, taking the information and look back up, because then you pay attention to your drone, that's not FPV, because you've looked down, took the data in, you've looked back up, which is how I typically fly for a lot of my commercial shoots. I do not spend all my flight looking at the screen. Anything over about 10 to 15 seconds is probably too long looking down. Then you should have a spotter, and that spotter stands next to you, and they are meant to check to make sure that there's no airspace or public incursions. That's always been the rules. That's the way it is. It's cut clear and simple, but people always look for the get around because that's always been the way. The rules have been like that since the year, well, since 2011, 2010, since I started. So that's how far they go back. They're not new. It kind of, you know, my head wants to explode when people go, well, this is a new rule because looking down at the screen isn't FPV. Yes, it chuffing is. If you're just doing this for your whole flight, that's FPV. And you can't fly. Let me be clear. All you're doing is guiding something somewhere. In my opinion, doesn't mean you can fly squat. Sadly, you're just guiding the aircraft about. It's, yeah, this is flying, visual line of sight. Watch what you're doing.
I just reminded myself to come back to that earlier DJI conversation in a way. Is it a coincidence that the alleged new DJI system, which is allegedly a like a tiny whoop, is called Avata, which is a very similar name to all these new systems? It's just a coincidence.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be shocked if the naming, if they actually had heard what DJI's name was going to be and they chose it to sound similar. I wouldn't be shocked because Avata.
Look, he's got one.
He's got one. Yes, the Avata. There was some leaked images from a product designer which looked amazing, and I was like, "Oh, this is great," and then it turns out they were fake. And then those images, because they've come from the normal places of images. I don't think they're the full product, but I think they're what they wanted to hint at. And you sort of look at it and go, is that it? Is that what we're getting? There's a lot of hype, and I think people may need to rein it in a little bit. I'm not convinced this is the next coming. I have to be careful what I say because I've been told some stuff that I'm not allowed to share, but I'm not convinced this is like, oh my God, the next most amazing thing. And it could actually show DJI's real intent with FPV. If we look at the FPV drone, there's been no updates. Right, there's been no changes really. There's no improvements. There's no new features. It is a product that released. They fixed a couple of bugs and they've left it sitting there. That tells me the product has no market because the products that have market, they constantly add features. They constantly make changes. We've just had the launch of the Mini 3, which is difficult enough for them because they seem to have a supply issue. Although I can get one for Friday in the UK if I want one. I'm really tempted. I'm really tempted to get one to review. It's not a good time with everything else going on, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have ponied up. But I'm not convinced. I think it will either be that or it'll be something a bit more high-end. I wouldn't be shocked to see DJI release a proper cine lifter.
A cine lifter, yeah.
I wouldn't.
Why they wouldn't do that.
Isn't that the M600?
Well, a cine lifter FPV style drone. That would be.
Maybe they've partnered with GoPro to revive the Karma.
The Karma, yeah.
It gets great footage as it falls.
Can I just say, anyone that wants a decent cine lifter, right? You need to go to a specialist and get one built. Go to a specialist drone manufacturer if you want an FPV cine lifter and get one built. You know, and make sure it's got make sure it's got the orange cube in it, but get a proper company to build you one.
Well, these guys in America were putting out some very impressive pieces of kit. Now, DJI would be very interested in a market that they can sell an official product in with all of their technology and good cameras on board. which they do. They do it all. They have everything to do this. So I don't know. I
mean, in the UK, we've got some great manufacturing as well. We've got Mark, who's up north. I forget his company name. He'll shoot me for that. And I've got a company just down the road here, and they build them as well. You know, it's all available if you want it. You don't have to have DJI. That's for sure.
Well, in that shocking turn of events, who would have believed? And do they make an $8,000 version of it? No. A cheaper version, the $8,000 one. Yeah, no. The tiny whoop thing, sort of sizing, they're a lot of fun. Those smaller things.
I don't think it's quite as small as it looks, though.
500 grams, though, I say.
Yeah. It's not super small. This is going to be something different, and it does align up with some of the stuff we know, but I can't share because it'll cause problems. So I think this isn't what people think it is. FPV Mini and stuff like that don't expect. And if it doesn't turn out, it will really show the current thoughts on the FPV drone, because they would have, we're easily into Mark II territory now, because the drone launched about March time. But it was ready in January. It was meant to launch in January, but it was delayed. For those who don't know, everyone already knew about, all the KOLs had them. It was all done, and then there was some delays. So the FPV drone is not the age that the product is in sale. It's actually a bit older because of the development cycle and everything, and it would be well into its next one by now. What's important to DJI? It's the Mini 3. Look at it. Look, that product is their number one hot seller right now. That is the number one hot seller.
Did I see it had a full-size GPS antenna on it?
I haven't seen anyone strip one, but I might have missed it.
I've seen a strip. It's
been stripped. Is it? That's something I need to go and have a look at. I've been dealing with this FPV thing for a few days. I need to go and catch up on some other stuff.
It looks a tidy machine, and I've seen some people with seemingly really quite strong winds. You shouldn't be flying in anyway. It's pretty amazing.
I must admit, the Mini 3 does not interest me, bizarrely. As a commercial operator in the UK, I've got a Mini 2. I don't need the Mini 3. It's not bringing anything to the party. My Mavic 2 Pro can do far better jobs, and my Phantom 4 Pro. And I've just gone, I'm not touching the Mini 3. I would rather jump to Autel, even if the camera is slightly better on the Mini 3. I would still rather jump ship to a degree, I think.
Is that because of the geofencing?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is quite a good feature.
The only problem is...
I saw one of the auditors, because apparently in the UK you can fly over a prison as long as you don't go below 175 feet or something, 169 feet or something. And so one of the auditors tried to fly his Mini 2 over a prison at 400 feet, and the geofencing wouldn't let him, even though legally he could do it.
Yeah, I don't think you can fly over prisons.
You can. They've clarified the height.
Have they? Oh,
so you can drop drugs from 400 feet. Great. So
you have to wrap them better so it doesn't burst when it hits the ground. Yeah,
you'll kill the person they're designed to catch them as well.
SIM cards, small tablets, and everything else. Yeah, because you can never fly at 100 feet.
You can drop as much as you want, as long as it's from 400 foot.
I think the reason I think they clarified the heights and everything is because if they're going to have delivery drones and everything else, they don't want to be going around prisons, do they? Because technically, why would they? They just need to go the most direct route. And it's interesting. It's this 100 and how many feet, Bruce? What did you say? 100?
I think it's 169 or something. I forget. Around that area.
Yeah. So it's just under 60 meters, basically, isn't it? It's because 60 meters have got 200 feet. So they're giving it a 200 feet buffer to play with above a prison for, if you like, as far as I can tell, delivery drones transiting through, which would make logical sense, to be honest.
Because there are so many delivery drones transiting through the airspace that they can't go around. There's not enough room for them. There's all the other drones on the side.
That's right. And because, of course, delivery time matters, those extra 40 seconds it took, or 30 seconds to fly around the prison, because you would have planned the route correctly, it just, saving those 30 seconds is going to be so valuable.
When did they change the rules?
They clarified the rules. I don't know.
Just
I'm not sure
clarified
they
the rules.
changed it. They clarified the rules. This was about a month ago, I think. I don't know why, but in my head it's a month or so ago. But there was clarification, and I think it came from the air navigation, or the new one, the 2021.
Okay, it's in the new ANA.
Yeah, I think it's in there. That's where they clarified it, because originally they said you can't overfly anyone in custody, this, that, and the other. But I also think the height's in there. I don't know why, but that's my nagging thought. I could be wrong, of course, because.
But there again, DJI stopping you flying your drone quite legally. I mean, who owns the damn thing?
Yeah, so that's why, if I was to have the next, I know what I want as my next aircraft. I already know what's going to be added to the fleet. However, it will be DJI yet again, but because of the work I want it to do. But otherwise, if I was to have another sub 250, it would be an hotel. I would not be touching DJI, even if the camera is not as good.
Well, there we are. That's very definitive. So what else have we seen? We've got 7 minutes till the hour's up. What else have we seen this week that we want to talk about? Maybe Archangel RC's got something to, or Archangel has got something to tell us. If he's not on wobble.
Tell you what.
You recovered your plane off the hill, off the mountain?
No. Haven't been able to fly up there. Although, maybe, a few months ago, I flew at a new location and I had some similar issues trying to get to the mountaintop, which turned out later to not be hardware related, but location related. And last weekend, I went back there with another plane, completely different gear in it, and no issues at all. I'm thinking something that was making a problem was probably turned off at the time now. So I was able to get that flight in. I will be curious to go back and check to make sure, I can repeat that flight and perhaps get closer to the top of the mountain, because there are a lot of peaks there. And it's also the tallest peak in the country.
Okay.
So maybe I can have that plane try and get up this mountain that's right next to the city. See if that makes a difference. Shouldn't.
What are you flying these days? What's your choice of FPV goggle and transmitter?
Well, it's the killer whale that flew last weekend, which I renamed the Razor Crest because it does look like it more than it does a killer whale. And before that, I actually got my Fly Easy fighter flying, and that is an interesting plane. Expensive, but definitely capable.
They're all expensive now.
You only the price.
Expensive.
Are you using ELRS yet?
No.
Why not?
Why would I?
It's cheap and it goes for millions of miles. They're using it on that helicopter on Mars. That's ELRS, apparently.
ELRS.
Yeah, sure. No, but the fighter is definitely, as of its first flight, my longest flying, highest endurance aircraft by far.
What sort of payload have you got it by weight?
Well, right now, not much. But in theory, it should be able to make it off the ground with probably 3 kilograms if you want, or 500-gram payload, and I can put in another 2.5 kilograms of batteries to bring that total of battery weight on board up to 7.
Yeah. It's a lot of battery.
Yeah.
That's a lot of lithium.
But I have I have another plane to go through before I get to that one, though. But this one is going to see some interesting upgrades in the not so distant future as well. But definitely an interesting platform for mapping with that flight time. I don't think an FPV flight that long would be entertaining.
So can you hit the magic 6 hours?
Well, no. At least not yet, but I haven't done any, tuning setup, and in the configuration it is in now, I'm not going to keep it much longer, so makes little sense to order props and try stuff and whatnot.
I say 6 hours for those that don't know, because that's probably the useful light for photogrammetry in a day.
Actually, for those who have seen my latest video as of, I don't know, a few days ago, Friday, I'm actually on the fence of whether 6 hours is a good enough time for mapping, because if something goes wrong, you're gonna know it went wrong after 6 hours rather than 2.
Yeah, that is the big problem with having a long endurance.
So rather than have 1/3 of a day wasted, you'll have the whole day wasted. And in January and a little bit of February, I did quite intensive mapping of an area here with the Flying Dragon. And we did a shit ton of flying, and we had to cram in 4 flights per day. And that's the shortest days of the year in January. So that was something in the realm of 500 kilometers a day.
Yeah, no,
for the plane.
I hear you. So what is missing is the monitoring of the camera in flight, isn't it? In a lot of circumstances, especially when you start getting that distance.
You can wire that in, but the problem is once the plane is off the ground, you can't really. Well, it depends on how you have it set up. We had some issues with that because from time to time the focus of the cameras would drift for some reason, despite us taping the lenses after setting the focus. But that would still, something would happen. It would go off, and then you land after an hour and a half or 2 hours. But at least you've wasted only 1/4 of the potential of a day, rather than the whole thing. Now, if you have a camera whose autofocus you can trust 100%,
I have to shoot.
Which I suppose is
take your
just use a Mobius that doesn't have focus. Use a GoPro, no focus.
Use a GoPro. GoPro's
lens distortion not important.
Well, GoPro is fine. Problem is the resolution that's necessary would require us to fly something like 40 meters above the ground.
That sounds like fun.
Probably run into some buildings and stuff. So maybe not a good idea.
Bus. Maybe a bus.
I'm thinking the Sony Alpha 7, the latest version, probably have reliable enough focus to leave it at auto. But then again, hoping it's quick enough to refocus once every second before.
That's exactly what my chum uses here, is those Sony A7s, and they do work pretty well. But you're exactly right. The trouble with long flight times is you better hope the cameras work the whole time.
Well, usually so long as they have power. We did not have any issues during like 2-hour flights because the plane couldn't do much more than that, loaded up with 1.3 kilograms. But which was still quite a lot, because empty without the payload, it would do 2.5 hours, 2 hours 40 minutes, something like that. Yeah, well, not using the standard lens. I mean, you want good photos, you don't go for the kit lens.
Yeah, it's just it's sort of where I really wanted to lead this, and we must go because we've gone over the hour now. Where I really wanted to lead this is, in many ways, a lot of the airframe stuff for your endurance has been fixed, and the manufacturers are sending us airframes that the cameras will fit in quite easily, even with my fat fingers to get around them, and nice channels to put all the wires in, and hatches, and all that sort of thing.
The Fighter does have that.
All that sort of thing's been resolved, but now they've really got to start working on. It'll be perfect when they've really worked out the camera solutions and how to successfully.
Actually, there are solutions. Problem is, they cost quite a bit.
Yes.
However, they potentially can cut down on flight time a further. Well, it pretty much 50%.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they also weigh next to nothing. I mean, I think the latest version of one of these was 350 grams, and roughly it could do what we did with the Sony Alpha 6000s, but one third of the weight, but probably 6 times the price.
Yeah. You start playing in a different league, don't you?
Powering them is a lot easier than all the stuff I had to go through. And also, in theory, they can do 3 frames per second compared to the Sony's one frames per second max. And you can connect an RTK GPS module directly to the camera module, and you can record all the photograph locations in its own memory or on an SD card or some stuff like that. So gives you quite a lot of convenience for that price. I mean, it's not for nothing, but also you're hauling around quite an expensive piece of gear. So any accidents potentially would cost a lot more than breaking 2 Sony cameras. That cost $400 each. So there's that to consider. But then again, that would also increase your flight time because that thing is, weighs next to nothing.
You charge accordingly, though, don't you? So more expensive kit, riskier flight, you charge accordingly. This is what it's about. I mean, I was talking to an operator.
The solutions are out there. They just cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, you can do mapping with a smartphone, but what's that going to give you?
Yeah. Well, I was talking to an operator today in the UK, and they were saying someone had bid for a gig to do about 9 kilometers, and they were going to do it with an M300. Apparently, they tried it for a week and threw in the towel, and he's doing it with a fixed wing now because he just went, why did they even try it? Why did they even try it with an M300? It was, crazy. Just put the fixed wing up and go.
Well, I heard about a group of people that did a similar kind of mapping to what we did in January to another city here. Last year, probably. It took 4 people 2 months to roughly the same size city to cover it with copters, with DJI copters. 2 months, 4 people. We did that 2 people in 7 days, including the failed flights. Ideally, we could have been done in 4.
Yeah, you always build in a buffer, though. Let's be honest.
But 7 days, 2 people compared to 4 people, 2 months, and they lost a shit ton of copters, which was pretty interesting. I mean, how the hell do you manage to do that?
It's amazing.
You get the police to fly them.
Yes,
I don't know. We lost no planes in the making of this
production. Yes,
of that 3D model. Yeah,
it's amazing how many commercial operators seem to be fixated on multi-rotor.
Yeah, because it's easy. Because the DJI ones are essentially flying cameras. It takes no experience to, charge a battery, plug it in, take it up, use full stick commands. There are no middle grounds here.
That's how the guys.
That's why you have gimbals.
That's how it works. Full stick command in any direction. Yeah, doesn't matter what you need to do. Just floor it.
Yeah.
So that's why they just can't do anything else. Fixed wing is like, it requires effort. It's not like you go to the DJI store, you get it, you take it out, you charge the battery, you fly it, and you're already a copter pilot, professional, aerial, whatever, taking photographs and doing mapping and taking money.
If you
So the professional upgrade for the Mavic is they replace the sticks with toggle switches.
Yes, it could.
Yeah.
Bang, bang,
Exactly. They use them as toggle switches.
Yeah, if you don't hear that noise, then they're not a professional operator.
It's amazing.
That's the PlayStation noise.
So here's a really funny thing. Just before we go, then. So here's a final piece from me. So I was talking to someone who had done a course with one of the companies in the UK that does training. So an RE, I won't name which one, but apparently the one that's done the most training. Their instructor told them that after they finished the flight, so the aircraft's still out 400 meters away, they are to push the return to home button to bring it back at the end of every flight. And I just couldn't believe
You mean there's another way?
Well, it's like
training for idiots.
If you fly it back and land it manually, land it in GPS at least.
But you can be having your cup of tea and a scone while it's coming back if you just push that button.
It was absurd. This, when I heard this, and I know the RAE, and I won't name them, but I was like, holy crap!
Are you allowed to fly in autonomous modes outside of emergencies there?
Yeah. So here, because they're doing the GVC test. So they're doing the GVC flight test, and at the end of the flight test, the guy's 400 meters out, 200 meters out, whatever. The instructor is telling him that he should always use the return to home to bring it back. That is absolutely I couldn't believe that, because
he would have absolutely no situational awareness. Develop absolutely no ability to orient himself by whatever's below him.
And it's so handy during a coronal mass ejection.
I mean, absolutely. I was like mortified, because I used to teach my students, look, if you're coming back and you can start your 45-degree descent, because a lot of instructors as well teach you, it's a multi-rotor, so you've got to fly straight along and then come straight down. When you enter your landing phase, it doesn't matter how high you are, and it's not about the vertical descent. That 30-meter bubble, that 30-meter bubble starts when you start your landing descent. So if you start at a 45-degree descent, all of a sudden, you're 50 meters to 30 meters. You're coming in nicely. You want that, come in nice. I don't want them to try and land those in when they're first learning, because that's something you will learn over time. But they should be bringing it back, and they'll get in front of themselves, and then you'll just turn it around so it's now tail facing you, and just gently bring it down. All in one nice maneuver. That's how you come in to land. You do not come in at 100 meters above yourself and then vertically come straight down. That's just silly.
Just disarm and walk. That's what I say. Disarm and walk.
Yes, that's right. Precision landing every time.
Bang. I mean, every time
the thing is,
bang.
Yeah. Every time I see somebody put down the drone, they power it up, take off, but take off with like full throttle, and without even waiting a second, it's just full forward or full backwards or full sideways. My legs go soft. I wait for this thing. I wait for this thing to just drop out of the sky that instant. But because it's a DJI thing, it just doesn't.
You should just do a roll at the end of the punch out. It always looks good on the camera.
It does the beating, but I remember the days. I remember the days when things were gyroscope only, and I remember the effect of full forward. So that that instinct still kicks in every time I see that full deflection of a stick from a person that doesn't know what they're doing. It's ridiculous.
If you want to see stick twanging, I call them stick twangers. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous.
But if you look at him, he feels like a god. Well, look at me. I can bash this shit around. Full up, full forward.
Yeah.
No.
It's like he's driving a race car.
Well, to be honest, after being flying what I've been flying for the past week, I have a new appreciation that I should do more manual flying, a lot more, because
7 meters long.
Some of us only fly in manual. We are so good.
Well, no, because even
air mode is not full manual, Bruce.
Yeah, most quads are not full manual. So if you hold up your little whoops again, your little 5-incher, you've still got gyros in there doing something.
Air mode.
I broke my gyros ages ago. I just wire the motor straight to the receiver. There's no flight controller.
Bruce, I want to see that video. Bruce, I want to see that video. I want you to build a quadcopter and go, this is what it's like with no acro flight control system.
To be fair, we used to fly helicopters without gyros and without even a tail gyro, you know.
You see now that I can fly a helicopter with a manual gyro, but or a heading hole, you know, but the old mechanical Futaba gyros. That's when I first started. I can't fly without a helicopter. I admit I do need something on the tail because it's just too much for me. But I have to say again, after flying what I've been flying for the past week, I have a new appreciation yet again of having those basic manual helicopter skills where you need to think everything's the wrong way around at times, especially a lot of nose in flying, especially when I've got nowhere else to go. I've got no room for a cock up.
It's like those fixed wing flies that insist on having the CG on the wing rather than the tailplane. They have it so easy.
Yes.
CG on the wing.
CG on the wing. I mean, a bit of nose weight never hurt anyway. Never just get tail heavy. I just can't do it.
No. Right. Well, on that word, look, we're 15 minutes over now. I ain't gonna, unless we've seen any more. Going once, going twice. Don't forget, follow Mark at his next concert where he's flying a Cadillac airship indoors for Brian Adams, I think it was, in the UK at the moment.
Drifting all over the place too.
Drifting.
A lot safer than an Inspire, though.
Sorry, say again?
A lot safer than an Inspire.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah.
True.
Oh, yeah.
People are encouraged to take their blow darts.
You can run into him all day long. Wouldn't make
take darts.
It's a bit bigger than an Inspire and all.
Yeah. All right.
But that makes it softer when it hits you.
Absolutely.
It doesn't hit anyone.
Especially if you're a bus.
Bounce straight back off the bus, wouldn't it? Dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, be safe, look after yourselves. We'll see you again next week, 2100 GMT. Same
See you guys.
Channel. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Look after yourselves.